Welcome. So in this part of the series on your serverless React app, I'm going to be showing you how to create a component, your own component, so that basically what you're creating your own component allows you to do is several things. One is, so that you don't, if there are certain pieces of what you are working on that you'll have to repeat in the same application, or you may use the same piece in other applications. So just as an example, for example, here in our sign-in page, for example, this part here, the sign-in button, forgot password and don't have account sign up. Let's say, for example, I might have several different screens in this application for having a whole sign in and sign up workflow, but each one might be have its own customized. So for example, the text for the sign in button might be different, maybe the color, for example, and as well then the and so that's one. And then, like, when you have this component in different pages, you have to let the components where they are being used of some, like, when certain events happen. So for example, when you click forgot password, you would need to let the email address and password form know that the person has clicked forgot password, so that may disappear, and just maybe an email address box would be displayed. So you would need to have basically have what we call input props to specify things like the signing text, and then what we call events, where that would be emitted outside the component when certain thing happens inside the component. So let's go ahead and try to do this. So we have our code here. Here's our app.js. So I already have created a components folder, so I'm going to create a new file here. I'll call it sign up or sign in function. Let's see, or we could just say sign in button component. Okay, so we go back to our extensions here. So as we want to import React component IMRC, oh, it didn't detect yet, sorry. Just need to rename this as a JS file. Okay, the other thing that I want here is I want to add the component class with constructor. Right, and you see the nice thing, it actually detects the name of your file, and we'll already call the name of your will actually call the name of your class, same name as your file, which is nice. So let's go back and look at our app.js. So what we want is the button here. We want this whole piece. From the button here to here. It's the grid container. Okay, yes. So we're gonna cut all of this and we're gonna put this inside here. So as we had said before, you always want to just do it, have a parent tag, make a div, just make it a div for right now. And then yeah, these are not defined, so go ahead and add this here, import as well as button, and also there's the link here. That wasn't defined, so this is now my component. So I can import it, components, sorry, import, what's the name of it? This is name from components, signing button component, and then we'll take this and we'll put it where it was, which is here. Right, so literally all I've done right now is I've kind of just transferred the code here with no other changes. Okay, we also need to add our classes for the styling, so let me just do this. So, and I have to pass our values here, so const classes equal to this dot props. Right, so now we'll define classes, and let's just check. Yes, what we need to do is we need to also add our styles, so just need to add this. So we can pass theme styles to here as well. And of course with styles needs to be imported here. So we passed our styles and passed it through, and we are doing that here. Okay, so that's great. So now if we go file, save all, fail to compile, can't resolve. Okay, it can't resolve components. For some reason it can't find it. Let's see. I need to do this.
Otherwise, the charger.
At your table. Okay, so yeah, in the definition we have to kind of define it by going back to the root and then source components, sign in button components, and so that it finds it. So as you can see here, this is exactly the same as before. I think there's just some probably additional wrapping styling that we can do here, but now let's basically wire it. So what we'll want to do here is, in our sign up component, we'll say button text, right, is equal to, let's say, sign in with email, for example, right? So what we're gonna do here in our component, we now have to grab that data. So we're gonna do that by doing, because these data are coming in the props. So right, what we can do is just say yeah, component didn't mount, okay, and then we'll say this dot props dot, what's the value, button text, and then we'll actually create here button text is equal to now if we go into sign in here, so just for the sake of yeah, I could just define it here constant, but I'm just going to do things a bit faster here. I'm just going to directly refer the state, and so this now is going to be the variable for the state that I define here, but I want to actually now change this when I load. So by default the button text, so that the text of the button will be blank, but then when it loads it will grab the button text from the props from here, and that will happen when component has mounted. and then I'm going to say this dot set state, right? I'm going to say that my set state button text is takes it from this dot props. Okay, so let's see. Sign in with email, right? And now I can just change it whatever I want. So sign in once, right? So this is now completely taken from here. So the other thing that we need to do now is I want, when you click on this, that the outside component knows that you've clicked, right? Right now it actually reloads, and that's, we want to disable that. The type submit, we actually don't want it to be type submit from here. So now it's not reloading, so but nothing's happening, right? It's not doing any check or anything like that. So, and actually let's actually work on this first, and the rest should be the same. Is we want to change the view, because you know these views, they are not defined here. These views are defined in my parent state, parent screen, right? So what we now need to do when we click, we need to pass this. So what we need to do is we need to define here a function that says on click forgot password, and then what we'll do is we are going to say this dot props dot on change on click forgot password, right? So yeah, basically we're gonna actually pass the value. We're gonna say actually, you know what we should even do, I think that'll be better. We'll say on change view, then we'll pass the value, because both of those are doing the same thing, they're changing the view. So we'll just have one method that will react to the value. So here we're gonna say forgot password, and we're gonna have this one where this one's gonna change it to sign up. So here on click sign up, now we need to switch these dot right. So basically on click is gonna launch this on click forgot password method, which is then going to call the on chain view method, which is part of the components event that is gonna be passed back to the parent, and same here, but it's gonna call the same method that's passed back but passing different values. But now I haven't defined this on change view. Where do I need to define it? So it's fairly simple. You actually define it in when you declare the actual component where it's used. So here I'm gonna say on chain view, right? Right, I'm going to change on chain view. That's the value that's sent, and then I need to assign this to a local method. So this dot handle change view. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna define this handle change view, and then I need to pass the view value. Let's call it this view, and sorry, and then this dot set state and what did we call the view? It's called current view. That's the current view is going to be this view. Right, so what have we done here? Let's just do a quick recap. So yeah, so we already explained this, and then now these two methods are then calling the method on the component that's and which is defined when the component is declared, and then each time it's passing different value for the view, right? So as we see here, so sign in button text, but we pass in what we are waiting for as an event. So whenever that event is bubbled up, then it will execute this event inside my parent, and then but this is how now I handle any parameters passed. Just define the function. This is the parameter passed, and the parameter is actually the name of the view. So let's see if this worked. Okay, first before actually, yeah, so just a quick review. So on change view, this unhandle chain view, right, and this executes this and get the any parameters passed, and then let's just check whether it's passing the parameters here. So you can see here it is. So then what I want to do here is just to see that this dot set state current view to be this view. Right, don't have an account. So now I'm passing back what's you know, being sent by the component. Right, just a final quick review, just because, you know, especially if it's first time creating a component, is so this is your whole component code that's going to be displayed, and you're calling it sign up button, and this is where I'm using the sign up button component, and then I'm passing in button text as the properties, and then I'm reading it here, but this dot props button text, and then I'm assigning it to a local state variable button text that is connected to the text on the button. Then what happens is when I click on one of those two buttons, I want the component to talk back to the parent component. So whenever the click happens, I'm going to execute these two functions, local functions, that going to then execute a function that's part of the properties of that class. So this dot props on change view, and then I pass the value of the view. So this is actually then defined here on change view. It's going to then execute a local method in the parent screen or component that takes in or reads the values of any parameters passed, like here, and then it sets the state to that view. So this is basically how you use components.